When action movies clash with reality, why Rambo 3's timing was a disaster. Imagine pouring your heart and soul into a project, only to have it released at the exact moment the world turns upside down. That's precisely what happened with Rambo 3, and Sylvester Stallone recently opened up about why the film's release was so spectacularly ill-timed. The result? A movie that landed with a thud, both critically and commercially. The 1988 film, directed by Peter MacDonald, saw Stallone's iconic John Rambo venturing into Afghanistan to battle Soviet forces. But here's where it gets controversial. The film's release coincided with a significant shift in global politics. Speaking with GQ, Stallone explained that Rambo 3 hit theaters just as tensions between the United States and Russia were beginning to thaw after decades of Cold War animosity. This dramatically altered the public's perception of the film's central conflict. In Stallone's own words, it was very, very dangerous. Very boiling hot. And it was really well made, except from the time we were editing to the time it came out. Russia, who had been in a Cold War with us for about 40 years, decided to come over and shake hands and kiss and make up. And now everyone goes, what is Stallone trying to do? Start another war with Russia. And I mean, I would come into press conferences and people would boo like, what are you trying to do? I go, have you ever heard of the Cold War? What am I trying to do? So you gotta be careful if you're dealing with topical subjects. Essentially, Rambo 3 painted the Soviets as the clear antagonists in the Afghan-Soviet War, which lasted from 1979 to 1989. A portrayal that felt increasingly out of sync with the rapidly changing geopolitical landscape. Can a film really be a victim of bad timing? What do you think? From PTSD to explosions, the Rambo evolution, the original First Blood, 1982, was a critical darling, lauded for its sensitive depiction of a Vietnam War veteran grappling with post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. It showed the struggles of veterans returning home and the lack of support they received. First Blood Part 2, 1985, however, marked a turning point. The franchise shifted gears, trading psychological depth for high-octane action. While commercially successful, it received a more lukewarm critical reception. Rambo 3 doubled down on the action. But this time, neither critics nor audiences were particularly impressed. Its Rotten Tomatoes scores tell the story. A meager 41% from critics and a barely better 45% audience score. And this is the part most people miss. The film was perceived as overly simplistic in its depiction of the complex Afghan-Soviet war. The portrayal of the Afghan Mujahideen as unambiguous heroes and the Soviets as cartoonishly evil villains didn't resonate with viewers, especially given the backdrop of improving US-Soviet relations. The financial impact was significant. First Blood Part 2 raked in a massive $300 million worldwide. Rambo 3, in contrast, earned a comparatively modest $188 million. It was a clear sign that the franchise was losing its appeal. At least for the time being. A franchise frozen, then revived. The disappointing response to Rambo 3 put the franchise on ice for 2 decades. It wasn't until 2008 that Stallone resurrected the character with Rambo. He later bid farewell to John Rambo with 2019's Rambo Last Blood. But the Rambo saga isn't over. A prequel starring Noah Centineo, directed by Kitao Sakurai, is currently in development, promising a fresh take on the character's origins. Stallone's reflections on Rambo 3 serve as a cautionary tale about the perils of tackling politically charged subjects in film. Will future Rambo projects steer clear of real-world conflicts? Only time will tell. But Rambo 3 remains a fascinating, albeit flawed, chapter in the franchise's history. What do you think? Was Rambo 3 simply a victim of bad timing? Or were there other factors at play? And should the franchise stick to fictional conflicts in the future? or continue to engage with real-world events?